Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Attack Wrap. I don't know what season this is, but it's this season in episode 1, and you just saw our brand new intro there. That's fantastic. This is the first time I've seen it as well. I'm your host, Nick Kennedy, and joined here today by Owen Sound Attack General Manager Dale DeGray. Dale, thanks for joining us here on the show.
For show of the year. I always try to be here for it.
Yeah, that's great. No, it's, the season's kicking off, the show's kicking off here, and coming out of training camp here, we were just talking pre-show that I think there's a lot of excitement around this team, and a lot of excitement, I think, even for this year alone. Are there a few things that you're really looking forward to with this season coming up?
Well, I think this year coming up, I can't look past anything but the bench. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I've ever turned over every single coach.
Right.
It's but we did some fantastic guys and even late having our goalie coach get picked up by the Ottawa Senators and their group. So no, it's a total rebuild behind the bench, and you know what, Scott Ray, everybody, it's been fantastic.
Well, and I want to talk about this. You have a history of really good hires, especially when it comes to these goalie coaches, because you hire one last year, goes to Chicago. You hire one this past year, again, they are in Ottawa. And now the new goalie coach, Brad, is he with Team Canada right now, the women's team, helping them out too? Yeah,
and our old goalie coach, Gibby, they had a past with the women's team. So, under short term, right, I had to really try to get it figured out quickly. And Paul Gibson said to me, talk to Brad and see where he's at. And I think it was a good fit, and they've got a good relationship. And obviously the relationship with Carter is key. You know what I mean? So for Brad to be able to come in and work with both Carter and Matt, it's been fantastic, and he's dialed in. He's younger and he's full of enthusiasm like the rest of our coaches.
Right.
I think it's going to be a great fit.
Is that something you were looking for? Is just kind of that maybe a little bit of youngerness there behind the bench? Is that something that was kind of in your sights?
It really was, and I think we wanted to try to get some experience, and with Shazi, and really, he was in Niagara, and now all of a sudden, you can bring his knowledge from there and his experience. He's an assistant coach. He's going to be able to add to the depth and to what we're going to do moving forward. And the three coaches, with Regan, it's really, I think it's a great fit.
Yeah, well, and they seem to be meshing so well together. I've seen them out there laughing together, and they look like they're having a good time. Somehow, you look at them and it doesn't seem like they're this new coaching group that have never been a team of 3 or 4 before. It looks like they've been together for the last 20 years all of a sudden.
No, and I think it's maybe it is youth. Maybe it's the youthfulness of the three of them. Obviously Scott Ray's a little bit older than the other two, but he is a boy in the league, right? His son's in Niagara, and he understands the makeup of the player, the mentality of it all, and I think that's what gives him a real good sort of insight as to the 22, 23 kids we're going to have in the locker room, and I think the other two coaches are going to learn from that. They're going to grow from that, and I think that's the whole idea. That's junior hockey. Not just the players. It's everybody involved. You want them to grow as individuals in the relationship they have with the players or amongst the coaches, and at the end of it all, just be better at what they do.
Now, that's something interesting, because I know last year you talked a lot about you're looking for character when you're looking for these new kids to draft or kids to trade for. You're looking for those players who can display a strong character. Is that then also something that you look for in coaches, so that the players have someone to look up to, that you would respect yourself, that you would want them to respect as well?
Well, I think that's the whole idea is the identity of the club, the organization. And I have a saying, and I've used it ever since I played junior, and that's about good character. It's what you do when no one's watching. And I try to. It's not a steadfast, easy thing to do, but you try to find that in the kids that you draft, in the coaches you hire, and it's definitely not easy, especially in coaches, because we're all a little bit older and we all maybe get a little bit set in our ways and how we want to do things. But there's people that you call and you contact and you ask questions and you try to connect the dots along the way, and hopefully you're more right than wrong over the course of whatever the period of time is.
Yeah, well, I mean, from what I've seen, it seems to be off to a fantastic start, and the guys seem to be meshing really well. Players seem to be just working hard this year. Like, they're really just pushing for that ice time, for that.
Yeah, I think the expectations of the coaches, it's going to get back, and you hear me always mention about the blue collar mentality, right? And that's what. One of the themes from these coaches is that's sort of what their expectations were. Although 3 different individuals, that's one of the key elements that kept coming up. So for me, it's pretty easy to bring the 3 of them together, let them have at it, and their expectations of the kids it's probably going to start with that blue collar mentality, and that is go out and work your butts off and let's see where we're at, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, playing on your toes and working hard.
Absolutely. Well, I'd love to just kind of go through then some of these new faces that we're going to see around the team this year, and the fans, of course, you guys will see them from the seats, and you'll see their faces or the backs of their heads, depending on where you're sitting. But love to just start with Scott here. I mean, coming out of North Bay, he's got 6 seasons up there in North Bay, assistant coach, and with some big names too that he's worked with. I mean, Stan Butler is a well-known figure in the league, and having worked a few seasons with him, helping through some of those transitions as well in North Bay. And he comes with a real winning pedigree. Like, they've got, I think, the last 3 years to the conference finals. Yeah. He's coached guys like we got Ty Nelson, Anthony Romani, obviously DiVincentis as well. Like, these big names. What was it about Scott that made you go, this is the guy for Owen Sound?
Well, I will tell you. You mentioned Stan Butler, and he was one of the guys that mentioned to me to consider Scott. And I'll be straight up. My thought at the start of this was to find, an older, more experienced head guy that wanted to continue coaching, and there was definitely guys that had applied, and without question, once I interviewed Scott and talked to him, it was easy. The conversation was easy. I could tell the enthusiasm in his voice, and how excited he was about talking about hockey and about maybe having his own team at some point, and being able to work with other coaches to get kids to where that he felt, or we would feel that they need to get to. And it was a great first conversation, and I would go on and I would interview some other people, and I can tell you that my wife, she knew when I got off the phone talking with him again. She would say to me, she could just sense the enthusiasm that I had speaking with him, and how sort of excited I was to continue on the conversation and go down that road with him. She would ask me when I got off, she said, you were talking to the coach from North Bay, weren't you? Yeah. And I said, yes, as a matter of fact, I was. And it was one of those things, and they were easy conversations, and it was about, he hit on a lot of things that, the blue collar aspect, and get what you deserve, and play the kids, and be allowed to make mistakes, and those are all things that I know we need to do in order to have a deep team. You have to let young kids experience things, make mistakes, and guess what? You're going again. Yeah. And that's how it's been. 2 exhibition games so far. They're following suit. It's pretty nice to see. It's
been looking good. I may not be the same result you're looking for in the win-loss category, but they're playing really good hockey. And how great is it as well to be able to bring a guy like Scott in who's played in this market. Like, he knows what it means to play Owen Sound OHL hockey.
He's familiar, and there's, quite honestly, that is not one of the criteria that I look for at all. It's not, but it's always nice when somebody, they know what Owen Sound's about. Smallest market in the Ontario Hockey League.
Right.
They know the blue collar mentality. They know what people want to see and how they want to see it played. So coming in, it's quite easy for him. he played a long time himself, and he's played in some of the lower minor league levels. He knows what it's about, and expectations are exactly where I wanted to see them. Looking forward to the start of the season.
Absolutely. I remember just walking out of that press conference, and the line that he kept repeating was getting back to playing Owen Sound style hockey.
Yeah.
And you could see a lot of the people in there. They felt excited about it, and maybe a few tough questions from some fans that were in there. But I think the general atmosphere was they realized this is the guy.
Yeah, I think even I think the people that saw last year how it played out, I think there was a lot of disappointment, and nobody more disappointed than myself.
Sure.
So, and I think anybody that goes to our games, they know where I stand, right? I'm not tucked away in a corner, away from everybody. I always say you can either kick me in the butt or pat me on the back. Doesn't matter. It is what it is, and hopefully you learn from it. And I could hear the frustration. I could see the frustration in the fans, and I think the one thing that's I know for sure is going to be there. It's going to be the work ethic, and I know win, lose or draw, these kids are going to work their butts off from the first drop of the puck to the final buzzer, and we'll lay it all out in the line, and whatever happens. The one thing that I expect from this group now moving forward is growth within that group, and whether it takes all year or half the year or 1 week, we're going to put the time in. The coaches are going to put the time in to make sure that they get as good, and they can see the benefits throughout.
Absolutely. Well, we'll save the rest of the Scott Ray talk for when he's on the show in 2 weeks. We can't encourage him too much now, right? You gotta keep him down to earth here. So let's move on here to Brendan Shaw. Like what a pickup there. I mean, he's got this OHL experience. He's coming up out of Niagara. I mean, Niagara's had a tough couple of seasons.
But that's
here.
A good thing.
Well, that's exactly it. He knows how to coach in adversity. Is that one of those things that kind of drew you to him as a coach?
It's part of the makeup of what we've, you talked about Scott, lots of success, won 3 division championships or played in the like that's huge.
Yeah.
And now you bring in another coach that knows what it's like to put his nose to the grindstone and keep pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to get to where he wants to be. Never really got there, and hopefully he gets there with us.
Right.
But he knows what it's like to put the time in, and let's be honest, these coaches, it's not 9 to 5. Like, it's not even close.
Right.
Not even close. And they didn't sign up for a 9 to 5 job. They know that, and he brings a wealth of knowledge in the computer and all of that. So it's you tie a little bit of this and a little bit of that together, and it makes a phenomenal group and a phenomenal team of coaches, and I think that's all part of it. And him coming from, he knows the league, he knows people in the league, he knows, once again, they're on the other side, so knows some other players that are on the other side, and he just brings that experience.
Absolutely. Is some of that youthfulness in him, have you found, like, do things like that give them credibility among the players, even, like when they're in the room, to have somebody who's maybe 10, 15 years away? Is that a credibility marker for them?
I think even more than that is I think the kids want to learn. Like, they want information. They want you to be able to show them, whether it's on the ice or in the coach's room with the video and stuff like that. So when you can provide that, and maybe over the last couple of years that's maybe been lost a little bit, but I will tell you right now, they are going to get their fill of as much video and as much coaching as they will ever want. I can promise them that. But I do think that's part of it. When you're on the ice and you can talk it, and then you can show them, and then you can take them off the ice and show them exactly what they were doing right, what they were doing wrong, and it just reemphasizes exactly the message.
Yeah. And I mean, that's something that he's coming in here with. I mean, he may be a young guy. Like, I think him and I are similar ages here. He's got 10 years or more experience here in some sort of either coaching or analyst role.
All throughout Canada.
Well, that's it. Coming out of the BCHL there.
Yeah.
He's been just about every role that you can be on a minor hockey team. Like, he's bringing a lot of experience. And so that must be one of those things that he just seemed to check a lot of boxes.
He does. And the more, some of that I never even got to know about until he was here, and you get a chance to talk to him. We're talking about his travels throughout BC and the mountains and the snowstorms and all that, but that's what makes you a better coach. That's what makes you a better hockey person. And I just think, like I go back to it. The group is, I'm excited to see the three of them get going, and not just on the bench, but in practice. You know, they feed off each other. They're running different drills, and the communication with the kids is off the chart.
Right.
And like I go back to the kids, you know, that's what they want.
Well, and you know, I mean, he's well suited now for the drives to the Sioux in the winter. Like
Yes, he is, definitely, for
he's
sure.
been out west, he can handle the Sioux. Regan, I mean, another young coach, even younger now than Shaw. Like he's coming in here, and yet, correct me if I'm wrong, like came in quite highly regarded, like highly valued, a young guy looking to break out into this league. And that's
a little bit where Regan comes from, because it's like, you know, about second assistant, bringing somebody fresh, somebody new, give him an opportunity to, you know, get his feet wet.
Right.
And but first round pick to the OHL, has played in the OHL, has done many other aspects of coaching aspects in his short coaching career. Wonderful young man. The kids love him. He's got lots to teach, lots to talk about. Even in the short window that he's left junior. So I think he's hungry to learn, which is, you know, obviously what you're going to want from a second assistant.
Right.
Because all your assistants, you want to make sure that they're learning so that they can, whether it's here or somewhere else, go on and become that coach that they want to be.
Well, and you know, something you had mentioned, I think this was sometime at the end of last year, was just how quickly the game seems to evolve and how quickly the culture of things change. And so to be able to bring in somebody like that who's so highly regarded, even for somebody so recently out of kind of the minor hockey world, like fantastic to probably have that voice now in the dressing room, a guy who's kind of maybe played hockey a little bit more recently, understands the shifting culture.
We're certainly not much older than the overages, that's for sure.
Exactly.
And I think that's what you're alluding to, and that is it. You know, he sat in their seat, you know, what, 5-6 years ago.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So not that long ago, where for me it's like 40 some years ago, right? So but that's what it's about, and for him to be able to go out and relate and talk almost at their level, right now, right today, I think it's outstanding.
Well, and something I've appreciated about just watching him kind of fit into this system is, I'm not sure, like, I was there for most of camp and a couple of practices since. I don't know if I've ever seen him without a smile on his face, which I think is great for, you know, you talk about creating a space where these kids can make a mistake but learn from it and continue to get better. And what a helpful thing to have is somebody you can look to and you recognize, okay, maybe I messed up here, but they're not going to kick my butt or anything like that. I can get back out.
Oh, they're going to get their butts kicked.
Well,
I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's like the mistake is not the end of the world.
Right.
It's not. And like I said earlier, that's how you learn. I don't care what you're doing, but if you're allowed to make mistakes and maybe you go over it and it's you learn, and hey, you're up next and it's your turn again. And most kids know what they've done wrong when something wrong has happened. There's no question. So sometimes it's not even. It's just come over, you pat them on the back and say, hey, you're up. You guys are up again, right? And it's like awesome.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. And I mean, we've already talked a little bit about Brad. I mean, what a busy off season for having to not just hire a new head coach, an assistant coach, a second assistant, but a goalie coach as well. And what was it about Brad? I mean, you talked a little bit about Gibby giving him a reference there, and even Carter giving Gibby a shout out. So that reference comes, pretty well regarded as well.
Yeah, I think, because it was so late, most goalie coaches are either set in, for the winter on their clinics, right? Because they're all busy.
Right.
And, or, has everybody been hired by a junior team or a pro team? And Gibby I asked Gibby if he had a name, and I ended up with about 3 names, 3 serious names, and Brad was the one that I went back to, and then I talked to Gibby again, and when I found out that his relationship, they're sort of tied in together, I thought to myself, you know what? Gibby's a phone call away.
Yeah.
Right. He knows about Carter. He knows a little bit about Matt, but no, I think that was pretty easy for me to go down that road, and I felt comfortable. And he's come up and he fits right in. Another younger guy that's that's I don't know, maybe I'm just getting older and older, but
Sure.
but it really is. He just fits in, and he just adds to that group of youthfulness in the coach's room that really want only the best for the kids.
Absolutely. You mentioned that, just kind of getting older. Do you find that, is that something that is difficult? Like, the kids that you're always having to scout and coach, they're always going to stay that age, because once they're older, they're off to, maybe it's the Wranglers like Denny, or maybe they're off to the NHL or ECHL or university, whatever they do. But, the coaching staff is going to just get older every year. The team's going to stay the same age.
I say it all the time. The only thing that I get older, the kids stay the same age, their names change, right? But same 16 to 20-year-olds, but it keeps you on your toes, keeps you younger, and I enjoy that part of it. Just today, the camaraderie, like kids leaving and stuff, and getting to kibitz with them a little bit, because now you start to get to know their personalities, and that's the really, really fun part, is when you get to know what somebody, if you can rib with somebody and kid them a bit and know where they're at, and expect to get it back too.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's not a one-way street.
Right.
Which I think is awesome, because then you know that, okay, there's a comfortability there, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you want. I know that's what the coaches want to feel.
Right.
So the more or the quicker we can get that out of them, the better everybody is. And I thought today was fantastic, because they had a real tough day on the ice.
Yeah.
So if they can do that when they're tired and maybe ticked off at the world and the coaches, I think that's fantastic.
Great. I mean, have you ever, just kind of thinking about that, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. Would I be confident enough to go up to my general manager and try to give it right back to him? Do you have players that have done that to you in the past?
Lots. But that's like, I don't consider myself unapproachable.
Right.
Like I'm not. Like I said, I don't sit up in the corner and hold everybody account. Like, that's not me. Yeah. I'm there. I want to be with the kids. I want to be with them, win, lose, or draw. Yeah. And I know what it's like. I've been there, and I've felt it all before. And all I can do is pass on experiences. And one of the guys we haven't talked about, maybe you're going to get to it, is Curtis Gabriel. Do you know what I mean? There's a guy that wants to be here. He's here. He wants to be a part of it because of his experiences. Right. And those are things that you can't pass on unless you have those experiences. Yeah. So for me, I'll be at, whatever, 40 or 100 years ago for me, but they're the same experiences. Do you know what I mean? The same pressures, the same pitfalls and same expectations all the time. But if I can relate to that in, as a 16 or a 20-year-old, it's hockey. It's a game.
Exactly.
And I know what they want. They want the best for themselves. They want the best for the team. And I've been there. Yeah. For a long time, I was there. And I want the best for them. So how can I help them get to where they want to be? Because if they get to where they want to be, we're going to get to where we want to be. Absolutely.
Well, let's touch there on Curtis. I mean, he's coming in. He's played with the Attack for many years. A while ago, some of the best years in Attack history. I mean, going all the way to the championship and playing those 3 Memorial Cup games as well. What is that like now to be able to bring a player like that who you've gotten to see through the years and maybe one of the Owen Sound success stories that you can talk about, and played pro for many years, and now he's back and just wants to learn and help and be a part of this team.
Yeah, and that's really it. He wants to be a part of it, and you think the only other guy for me that's done that, Joey Hishin, right? Wanted to come back, give back, and be a part of it. It's outstanding, right? So and when something like that falls in your lap, you've got to embrace that, right? And I know, like he's had a tough upbringing. He's had a tough pro career. Yeah. But he's come through it all. Right. Right. And so he's got a great message to send to every single kid. And as hard as they think that they have it, I will guarantee that Curtis has had it 100 times harder. Right. And he's gotten through it. And that's what I love about him. I've always loved it about him. Fantastic family. His mom lives here in town. Yeah. No, when I knew that he was gonna be here, I didn't know if he'd want to be a part of it, or I think he's it's taken him a little bit of time. Sure. But when hockey's in your blood and that's what you want to do, it's tough to get rid of it. Yeah. It really is. Yeah. And if you're out of the game maybe a little bit earlier than you truly wanted to be, you still want to stay involved. And I'm so happy that he comes around the rink. And the more he's around the rink, I think the more the kids will get to understand who he is and what he's about. And I think they'll love him. His message will be on cue with the group, and his experiences from not even playing AAA to playing the National Hockey League,
right,
over and more games than guys that played all throughout his youth AAA.
Yeah,
I think it's outstanding.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's great, and just another one of those reasons that I really think fans should be excited about this year. Like, we've got a great coaching staff. You've got former pros now that are so excited about this team that they want to be involved in it. I think that's great, and something too that not to pump your tires too much here, but I think that's a precedent that you've shown and that you've set. I mean, you see, you stand, everybody knows where you stand during the games, but beyond that, it comes to training camp. You're there in the stands. Your scouts know where to go because they know we're sitting in the stands, like we're accessible to the fans, and it is what it is. And I watch people come up to you and chat with you and sit with you guys for a little while.
Tell me who to keep, who to send home.
Yeah, giving you all their
fine.
opinions. Sure, yeah. But that's a precedent that you set from top down, and I think a lot of the fans, for better or for worse, however a win or loss goes in a game, I think that fans recognize like there's something special about Owen Sound hockey.
You summed it up. There's something special about it, and I've felt that right from the first year I was here. And I tell people all the time, until you've been here to experience it, I can't tell you about it. I can tell you about it, but it's more than what I'm telling you. And get in your car, drive up, experience it. When it's a sold out Bayshore, it's unbelievable.
Absolutely,
it's unbelievable. And kids that you trade to come here, Bruce McDonald, you're gonna probably have him on. I'm going to tell you that he can't believe how awesome it is here.
Fantastic.
Do you know what I mean? And I get it from all kinds of kids that are here. They don't realize until they're here what it's about.
Exactly.
Right? They just don't. And then it's like, that's why a lot of kids, they always continue to come back after they've left after 20.
Yeah.
So it's a great experience. Owen Sound hockey it's the best.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, my wife and I haven't been here too long, but we have loved it here, and we're going to head to break here in a second. And so what that means for all of you who are watching tonight, you've known this for many years, we are going to do a quick trivia question. Make sure you text in. The question is, what OHL team did Dale DeGray play for? This will be tickets to the home opener against Guelph. Get those phones out, go to HockeyDB, and find that answer, send it in. We will be right back after this commercial break with a little bit more.
Hey you, Bravo's now in Canada.
Walk in the room like a CEO. I handle my biz like a one-man show.
Hi, Shaq.
I want to do something drastic.
Whoa.
Don't activate me, because you've not seen me activated. Leave me alone.
Get out of my house. Stop!
I'm not gonna lie, I'm looking forward to this.
Fall in Canada has never been hotter.
Hi, I'm Vivica Gravel, Community Development Coordinator with the City of Owen Sound and the River District. And welcome to My River District. This is a show where every week we'll be here at Rogers Studios talking to you and talking to local businesses and people in the community about why they, as locals, love it here. They'll also share some stories about their businesses and how they can help you. So meet us here every week, Rogers TV, for the whole season of My River District.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen, welcome back to TAC Wrap after that short break. Once again, make sure you get your phones out and find out the answer to our trivia question today. What OHL team did Dale DeGray play for? Oh, we have a winner already. Keith Fawcett already sending in that answer. He was at practice there earlier today, so he's on it.
Didn't tell him.
Yeah, no insider information there. Correct answer, Oshawa Generals, 197 games played, 104 points, and that looks like a little bit over a penalty a game, when back in the day?
Welcome to the 80s.
There you go.
That's how it was.
There you go. So congratulations, Keith. I think you can pick those up at the box office. Every week we'll have a trivia question, so make sure you guys get your phones ready, and we will share that before the commercial break each week. Dale wanted to jump in and just kind of talk about a couple of the players. Some big names heading out. We know Sam and Denny and Ethan were on their way out. Servac, we could kind of figure out, probably OA plus, an international player. Hard to use two cards on one player, but I think a lot of people saw that one coming. We talked a little bit about what some of these players mean to the organization, but you see even Sam coming back and playing a little bit of training camp with these guys, just pushing them that extra step. Yep. How important is that to a team?
Well, we talked about this last year about the overages, how impressive it was that they were all homegrown kids, and not just homegrown, but really, really good kids, really good players, right? Like contributors night in, night out, and that to me was remarkable because you don't get that very often. That is and was special, and I'd love to at some point, be able to have that again, but it's hard. That's hard, and then to have Seds come back at training camp, but it's always nice to see kids come back, and due to proximity where they live, it's always difficult where we are, to have kids come back, but it's always nice when they come back. It tells you a little bit of what they felt and feel about the organization and the town. So no, and seeing Seds kind of, he's kind of a goofy guy, but it's always nice to see him.
That's great. Well, Sam playing this year there with the Phantoms in the AHL. Denny, of course, signing with the Wranglers and getting a little bit of pro experience where you got to experience some pro as well. So did you send him some of the good spots to go check out?
No, I'm sure they've changed since I was there. But it's always, and even some of the others, it's going to be an opportunity for them to go to school, develop their game. Like I said, they're all good players. All really good players that should have a chance that moving forward, depending on how long it takes. But they're all good, capable, quality kids for sure.
Absolutely. A couple other names on the way out. Madden Steen, he's now I think with Charlottetown. Tomislav Corbin, Jackson Stewart as well, another player on the out there. But I think have all found some good landing spots.
And the last few that you mentioned, it's tough because those are decisions you have to make. And, you bring kids in or you develop kids, and at some point, you have to just say to yourself, it's just not going to work for you here anymore. And it's hard. Like it really is. You spend, whether it's one full year or 2 or 3 or 4 years, depending on the player. It's hard.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And not just for me. You know what? They're teammates. Do you know what I mean? And it's difficult to say they're not coming or you're going to move them or whatever it is. But there's a lot of growth amongst the kids together, and it's hard.
For sure, absolutely. I think probably one of the bigger off-season departures, Cedric Guindon. A big trade return, though. I think I was shocked to see just that. It felt like I kept having to scroll on my phone to see how many picks that you were getting back from Kingston there. How do you go about setting up a deal like that, especially before the season? You talked about how kind of a preference is to trade mid-season, something like that, have a little bit of that experience. How do you do that preseason?
Well, I'll tell you, that was new. Like that, okay. I can tell you, this summer has been crazy. With players asking to be traded, and then teams trying to facilitate the trade, and then being able to make it happen. Because it usually doesn't. Usually you get 50 cents on the dollar.
Right.
I'm telling, like that's the truth. So, look, but it also speaks to what Cedric is.
Exactly.
He's a very good player. He's a very capable player. He was looking for a change.
Sure.
As much as I didn't want to move him because he's such a good kid, such a good player. But I get it. I get it. And he'd spent 4 years here. I believe he had a good time here, but I think he feels that there's more for him to achieve, and maybe it wasn't going to be here. And getting a different look, different makeup. Look, I mean, I'm not an impossible person. I would have liked to kept him, but it's the way that it goes. And at some point, it does become a little bit more of a business, than a game. And that was one of those times.
And I mean, special for him now. He gets to play his OA year near home, and I guess his parents aren't huge hockey fans, but maybe the proximity they'll get into hockey a little more.
Like the big thing for me, the parents don't come into play as a 20-year-old. It's more about the opportunity and try to provide what he might think is a better opportunity. But hey, we'll see how it all plays out, and it'll be interesting when he comes in, because even for him to come in and sit in the visitors bench will be a little bit different.
It will be, yeah. He's going to have to experience the difficult side of playing at the Bayshore that so many people have talked about. I mean, you hear people talking about how hard it is sometimes to play in this building.
Well, we want to get back to that.
Absolutely.
That's what the coaches want to do.
Absolutely.
You talked about Scott earlier on.
Yeah.
We want to get back to the old style attack hockey.
Well, and I think, you could hear it certainly in the playoffs there. That third game, the first playoff game at home, that was just a riot. It was so much fun to be a part of that atmosphere there. Everybody's going nuts and cheering for the guys, and just, I shared this at the end of the year on the final episode, but the moment that Tejas killed almost an entire penalty along the backboards
in the corner.
Holy smokes, did the Bayshore just start? I was afraid we were going to break something. I was expecting to see fans start flying out of chairs.
No, it's exciting, and when they're loud and proud, I guess you could say, it's and to be on the ice, to be a part of it, it's awesome.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about some of the names we got coming in. I mean, a huge name coming in here, Bruce McDonald from Erie. What a fantastic pickup there. And I don't think this is an outrageously hot take, but sitting there in the stands, you could tell this kid is one of the best players on the ice at any one time, especially during training camp there. You could tell who Bruce was, without a number on the back. You couldn't tell that he was an overager because he looks so young.
He looks 14.
But you could tell he was an overager because of how quick and skillful he was out there.
Yeah, he brings a lot of everything you just said to the game. On my report, one of the first games that they played last year in Owen Sound, he just caused havoc. In on pucks. I think he scored a shorthanded goal. But when I see somebody for the first time at home, and I can put a report in that I haven't done a report in since the U18s, my report only said, who the heck is Bruce McDonald? Because I didn't really know.
Right.
I really didn't know, and it made me look into him. And then all of a sudden, when he became available this year, I was like, that's the guy. And I knew exactly who he was.
Yeah.
You're fast, skilled, tenacious.
Right.
Those are all things that we talked about as a coaching staff. That's what we want.
Yeah.
So it was pretty easy, to take one of those picks we got for Cedric and turn around and flip it and bring in another overage.
Absolutely, and to still maintain a lot of those picks as well. I don't know how you did it. I'm not gonna, don't spill your secrets here. So keep those, and that's great. But I do remember that game with Bruce, because that was the game that I thought the fans were gonna follow the referees to the car or something like
100%,
that.
yes.
Ethan goes ahead and scores one of the coolest overtime goals there, and I think the fans, you might have needed earplugs there, because that was a loud Bayshore. Bringing in Max Bleacher. How do you say Max's name?
I would say I say Bleacher, but
Bleacher, okay.
But it's probably not. It's probably more Bleaker.
Okay.
But you'll have to get him on here. he needs to learn how to read English. So as long as you don't have him reading,
Gotcha.
he'll be okay.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to keep it to spoken and pictures.
Yeah, but how we it's just the European draft, and it's about relationships with people and having some trust in it. Listen, it doesn't always work, you know, because when kids come over, it's different. You know, the rink's smaller, the food is different. You're in with a new family. There can be all kinds of reasons why kids don't have success when they come over.
Sure.
You know what? We watched lots of video. We got his name. Watched video at various levels. He did very well. Although I watched this German team play in the Gretzky Holinka.
Yeah.
Not so good.
Sure.
Right. The whole group was not very good. But when I spoke to him, they got together like 7 days before that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of the kids hadn't been on the ice for a month or so. It showed. But great kid. He gets better every day. Every game he's played, every practice. So I'm excited to see where he gets to. He competes. He's got good puck skills.
Yeah.
He's going to work on his skating, and being on the ice every single day is going to help him out. But great kid. You talked earlier about kids having smiles on their face. Big smile. Can't stop. I think he needs a haircut, but other than that, that's okay.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, you talk about just, I wonder if people really know the challenge for an international player, because they're used to, it's a whole different game. I mean, a different sized rink, they're moving not just, across a province or across a country, but they're moving across the world from their parents.
And that's the big thing.
Right.
Their parents aren't, a car ride away.
Exactly.
And they can't be at those games where, they have a bad game and they get consoled in the car on the way home. It doesn't happen like that anymore for them. And one of the things I think, I didn't say was, they don't realize, I think they feel that they're pretty good players on their own, wherever they come from, but they don't realize the intensity and how hard it is to play in the OHL.
Absolutely.
And it takes them some time and it's a fairly rough league.
Yeah.
And if you're not expecting it and you're not ready for it, it can open your eyes up pretty quick.
For sure.
And I think with Max, he's a pretty thick kid. He's pretty solid.
Yeah.
He can handle that. He's pretty smart. He's pretty slippery. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, you could see him bouncing off bodies and stuff in camp. And I think exactly what you said. I mean, I haven't been to a practice in about a week. And going today, you could tell he's noticeably, visibly better every single time you go see him.
Yeah, and he has Trent Gates is his roommate, so he's living together now. So I think that's a little bit easier too with Europeans, if they've got somebody that they can sort of console in and sort of help them get around town and do what they need to do. So I think that'll be a good fit for the two of them and moving forward.
Well, let's talk about Trent then. He's on the list as well. Another big name coming in here, a bigger kid. I think a little bit older, right?
Yeah. Well, no, they're the same age. They're 17, a U18 pick for us.
Yeah.
84-ish points last year. Really ripped up the U18 league.
Yeah.
He's another one. It's different from U18, major junior, big step. But I have no doubt in my mind that he is going to get to where he needs to be. It's just going to take a little bit of time, game situation. But another excitable kid that can play, and he's got speed, he's got skill. He's a solid kid.
Yeah.
Just going to be a little bit of time management and game management for him to have some growth.
Are there different, we'll call them like criteria for success for a player coming in off a U18 draft versus a 16-year-old coming in?
Yeah, I think with the U18, a lot of them have played against a little bit older guys, right? They've had that U16 experience,
right?
And that's really about it. They've probably played. A lot of the U18 kids are their better players, so they play good minutes, and it should be easier for them to come in. Although I don't want to say it's easy,
right.
But easier, just because they've got that little extra year, especially if you get a January birthday kid.
Yeah.
But I tend to sort of take the later birth dates, so you get an extra year to groom them for their draft year. So
right.
But he'll be fine. But generally the U18s, they should have a little bit more savvy coming in.
Sure. You look for kind of like crisper passes or just the hockey IQ to just be maybe a step ahead.
I think the fundamentals, I think they can do a little bit crisper, a little bit faster because they've had that extra year.
Yeah.
But let's not kid ourselves. There's some pretty good 16-year-olds that pick up on that pretty quick.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, we even saw that through, Jake and Harry really popping off at the end of the year. You see these kids that, they might be 16 or just newly 17 and they're starting to read passes. They're cutting them off at the blue line. Like really good things to see from these young kids.
Both kids had some exposure to playing and
yeah.
grew from that.
Right.
And that's what we talked about right off the get-go, being able to make some mistakes and still get to play.
Yeah.
So those are two kids that really developed because they had the opportunity.
Well, we got one more import here this year, Rafik Varosian. And we'll call him. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's my Russian is not fluent, so it'll be an interesting episode if we get Rafi on here. But a player coming out of Russia, and not just kind of like Russia, but like Russia.
Russia.
Yeah,
like,
far away.
Yeah, he's an 8-hour flight from Moscow. So,
right.
So yeah, there's a kid that spent 26 hours in the air, not even counting his layover.
Man.
I know, I can't even imagine it, but. On the ice for 2 days, played in the game, and did really well.
Sure.
And without knowing much English, much about concepts and stuff, but you can see tremendous feet, really good puck skills, good head on his shoulders. He's going to be a creative, offensive type player.
Great.
That I think the fans will probably learn to really like very quickly.
Well, and I think that's something good about bringing in these players is they do play a different style of game. It may not be quite as physical as the OHL is, but it's great to have that creativity come in because creativity breeds creativity, and you might see that start to rub off on other players.
And that is what it's about. I mean, and that'll be up to the coaches, right, to put him with some other guys, however they see fit to. Yeah. Make that chemistry work.
Yeah.
But he's skilled, and he will add. At some point, he will add probably a lot.
Sure, absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit here about Pierce Bowie. I mean, first-round pick came in. You could tell the kid was a first-round pick. I mean, there's no real way to say it. He looked good out there. What is it about Pierce that now wearing an Attack logo and seeing him out on the ice, like, what is it that you're excited about with this kid?
He kind of does it all.
Yeah.
Like, he really does. I got to be honest, after watching 2 exhibition games, he's exactly as advertised. Undersized, but I know that he's going to get bigger. I know he's going to get bigger, but he's undersized, tremendous skater, handles the puck, really, really deceptive passer, looking one way and passes it a totally different way. Great shot.
Right.
And beyond all that, works his butt off. And not afraid of anything. So he's confrontational, which I love. He's in guys' faces. He takes the hit to make plays. He's slippery when he needs to be. I'm really excited about this kid moving forward.
Well, and a smooth skater from all metrics that I can tell. Sitting up there, you're
smooth and fast.
Smooth and fast. So that's a fantastic pickup, and I think people are going to be excited about that. I mean, can do a little bit of wing, a little bit of center. Maybe we'll kind of see where he falls in here.
Where it plays out, he'll be able to be utilized in a lot of different aspects.
Sure. Is that something that you almost need to be as an undersized player? Like, do you have to be a bit of a utility man?
I don't know, because if you can excel at the offensive side, you can get away with it. Do you know what I mean? The only thing that when you're undersized, it's a physical league, and you've got to be willing to take the hits and be able to know that that's going to be a part of what happens. And there's going to be guys who are going to try to run you over just because you're smaller. And I think Pierce, I'm positive he's going to be up for the challenge. And he'll be coming right back at you. Like, he's just one of those guys. He's a hard guy not to like and smile about when you're talking about him, because he is that sort of a guy.
Well, I mean, you talk about running guys over, and there are a few other names that I want to get to on the list, but while we're on that topic, Ty Therian. I mean, that was one of the most fun players I had watching in training camp, because he was just, like, he was bullying kids a couple years.
Oh, we can't say that.
Sorry, not bullying, but you know what I mean.
Yes, he's aggressive.
He's aggressive. Yeah. He was, I don't know what you would call battling. There's the word I'm looking for. He's battling kids along the boards that are 4 or 5 years sometimes older than him, and doing so relatively effectively. Is that what kind of drew you to a player?
Well,
like that?
listen, that's a freebie. He's a freebie. He's a free agent that came. I watched video on him. Way back this year, and he actually was put on waivers, cleared waivers into the Quebec League, and I think what they realized was that, maybe they didn't have a spot for him.
Sure.
So he came back to Ontario, and his agent reached out to us, actually reached out to Scott Ray, and said, "Hey, there's a kid, blah blah blah," and we were like, "Well, let's bring him in, see what he can do." Yeah. Right. And nothing ventured, nothing gained. And
absolutely.
And he's been fantastic for having no real true gauge of who Ty is to now. As I said to somebody the other day, the North Bay Battalion left knowing who Ty Therian is.
Yes.
Who number 22 is.
Exactly.
And in hockey, that's what you want. You want to make sure that by the end of the night, people know who you are.
And of course, whether he wins a spot this year or not, one of those kids that it's great to even just have a little bit of that presence around the team, because you've got players like Jordo or Connor Smith that are willing to throw the body around, and it's great to kind of see that through the ages as well.
And he will be a part of that.
Yeah, that's great. Another player who I thought really impressed was Elliot Arnett. You could tell when it was Elliot with the puck. They didn't have numbers on the back of their jerseys or anything, but you could tell just by the way he's playing, like he stood out among a lot of the defensemen.
Yeah.
I think a second, third round pick somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Third. What do you like about him? What has he done so far with the attack where you're like, you know what, this is the kind of guy that we want on this team?
Well, I think at rookie camp he looked like he didn't belong. And not that he didn't belong in a negative way,
right,
but looked like he didn't belong because he should be waiting to go out with the older guys 2 days later.
Yeah.
And that really is the truth. And that's an absolute compliment to him and his poise and his ability to get around the rink and just his presence that he has out on the ice. And I think even in the exhibition games, he still has that presence.
Yeah.
And that's amazing for a 16-year-old defenseman to have that poise and presence on the ice. I think he's going to be a fan favorite by the time it's all said and done. I really do. Yeah. And he's going to have some tremendous success.
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, at the draft being 182 pounds, 6 foot, like he's got more years left in him to, bulk up and grow a little bit more. So what a fantastic pick.
He's going to get there. For me, he's a typical hockey player.
Yeah.
He's a big, thick, stocky guy, and he wants to use his physicality, move pucks, get up the ice, does everything that you're going to want in a defenseman.
Right.
Elliot Arnett.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. Another player stood out as well, Ethan Kindry. I think he had a great camp. Another early round pick here. I think he came from Halton.
Yes, he did.
If I remember.
Yeah. Ball of energy.
Yeah.
Ball of energy.
Yeah.
Smart player, good skills, good skater, undersized but stocky and competes. And reminds me Ethan Burrows.
Yeah.
Like type player that will be able to play a 200-foot game. He'll get to the point where he'll kill penalties. He'll be on the power play. He'll be the first minute guy. He'll be a last minute guy. Or at least that's my expectations for him. I'm probably putting pressure on him now, but that's my expectation. That's what I see in him. That's what I think he could be. And we all know what Ethan was, when he left here.
Yeah.
But no, he is a really solid kid going forward.
Absolutely. Last new addition here, Easton Mickus, and Is he a Thunder Bay guy? Like, there's a little connection there with Carter George.
Him
as
and
well.
him and Carter actually are friends. The families are friends, and he was on our draft list last year, and to our stupidity, we never really got to him.
Right.
And we probably should have. But in fairness, he had a great year last year playing junior and was Rookie of the Year. We were on him because he was a guy that we had considered.
Yeah.
And we thought, we've got to find a spot to make sure that we get him and somebody else doesn't.
Yeah.
So we stepped up. We took him blue collar through and through.
Yeah.
Hard, tenacious, a corner guy that's going to be able to move pucks and hard to move in front of the net. For his age, he's a very strong kid.
Yes. Yeah, you can tell that from afar. He's big. He's
well put
heavy.
together.
Yeah. And that'll be great. I think, something fans will look forward to is getting that Owen Sound style hockey, the blue collar. You see it in guys like Easton. We saw it with Ty through training camp and battling hard. You see it in guys like Connor Smith. He may not have, come through the system since he was, first in the league, but great to see. You got Teus Jordan, another guy who's willing to get out there and throw the body.
And those two are guys that, they bring it.
Yeah.
They just bring it, and it's awesome to watch. They both have presence on the ice, and now they know the league, they know the game, they know what we're about, and it's going to be up to them to push us as a group.
Yeah.
They'll be a big leader for us.
Absolutely. Well, we got just 2 minutes left here, so real quick, as the general manager going forward, kind of what do the next few weeks look like as a general manager in the OHL? Are you are you starting scouting for new players? Obviously, there's still a couple of things that need to happen with 4 OAs on the roster, things like that, right? Players away at development camps, they could get picked up. You never know, right? So things like that. Is that heavy work as a general manager, or is the bulk of the work kind of done and now you're sort of tying the bow on
It's
top?
a little bit of wait and see right now because of what you just talked about. And, for next year, no, nothing yet. But, what happens with guys from camps, when they come back? Do they come back?
Right.
So some of our decisions, and I'm a big believer in that's why you have to sort of wait some things out because, if you make a premature move today and then something goes awry down the road, now you're trying to get one of those players back, and what does that cost you?
Exactly.
So it's I'd rather the devil you know than the devil you don't. And we'll make some decisions at a later date with extra players or knowing what is 100% as opposed to guessing at what could be.
Great. Well, fantastic. I like I said, I think it's going to be an exciting year. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys get your tickets, mark your schedules. Big game next Wednesday against Barrie. It'll be a home game. Home opener, of course, is going to be Saturday, September 28th, home to Guelph. But you know what? Friday, get in your cars, drive to Guelph. It's not going to be that bad. It's the end of September. Let's go take over Guelph, make sure they know who the Attack are. And we'll be back next week here, Tuesday, 7 p.m., Attack Wrap. We're going to have both assistant coaches on the show. So we'll see you then. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks, Dale, for joining us. And we'll see you guys next week.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Hey you, Bravo's now in Canada.
Walk in the room like a CEO. I handle my biz like a one-man show.
Hi, Chef. I want to do something drastic.
Don't activate me because you've not seen me activated.
Yeah!